Everyday English Podcast
by English Talking Today.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to English Talking Today. I'm Mary. Now, if you're listening to this, you're probably on a journey to become a more confident and fluent English speaker, and maybe you're feeling a little bit stuck, especially when it comes to having real, flowing conversations. You know, you might be great at grammar tests, you can write emails, but when someone asks you a question, you freeze up. Your brain goes completely blank. You're not alone. This is a super common experience, and it's what we're going to talk about today. I want to give you a clear roadmap for how to move from being a beginner who struggles to a speaker who can communicate their ideas naturally and easily. We're going to focus entirely on conversation skills, especially for those of you who are just starting out or who feel like you've been stuck at the same level for a long time. The very first and most important thing I want you to understand is that conversation is a skill. It is not a gift. It's not some magic talent that some people are born with and others aren't. Think about riding a bicycle or learning to cook or playing a sport. You don't just wake up one day and know how to do it perfectly. It takes practice, it takes effort, and it takes falling down a few times, right? Speaking English is exactly the same. Too many people look at fluent English speakers and think, oh, they're so lucky, they're so smart. But what you're seeing is the result of thousands of small, sometimes awkward, conversations and lots of dedicated practice. Every single fluent speaker you know, including me, started small. We all had those moments where we couldn't find the right word, or we got our verb tenses mixed up. The difference between those who succeed and those who get stuck is the ones who succeed keep practicing even when it's hard. They understand that those little mistakes are actually data. They're telling you what you need to focus on next. So, let's start today by removing that pressure of perfection. We are building a skill, one brick at a time, and every single day you practice, you're getting better, whether you feel like it or not. So, if it's a skill we need to build, where exactly do we start? The key is to start small. This is where many beginners make a huge mistake. They try to sound like a news reporter or a character in a movie right away. They try to use long, complex sentences and big, fancy words they just learned. When they can't do it, they get frustrated and they stop. Don't do that to yourself. As a beginner, you should use simple, short sentences and the words you already know. You should be prioritizing communication over perfection. The goal right now is to get your message across. Think of it like this: a construction worker needs a hammer. You don't need a 3-page essay to communicate a simple idea. You need simple sentences. For example, instead of trying to say, I am considering the possibility of procuring a new technological device, which is too much work for your brain right now, just say, I want a new phone. That's perfectly clear, and it's much easier to produce quickly. And what if you don't know a word? This is a great chance to use your existing vocabulary to explain the missing piece. This is a very valuable skill, even for advanced speakers. For instance, imagine you want to talk about a toaster, but you can't remember the word. Instead of freezing, you can use the words you know. You can say, it's a machine. I put bread inside, and it makes the bread hot and brown. We eat it for breakfast. See? You communicated the idea perfectly without using the specific word. That is a huge win. That shows resourcefulness. It keeps the conversation moving, and that is what matters most. Don't stop talking because you don't know one word. Use the words you do know to explain it. That's how you build confidence and get comfortable speaking. Now, you might be thinking, Mary, I get it, I need to talk, but I don't know what to talk about, and I still feel awkward. Well, the secret to becoming a great talker actually has very little to do with talking at the beginning. It has everything to do with the importance of listening. I want you to remember this. Listening is the first step to good conversation because language enters through the ears. It's called input, and it is the fuel for your English engine. Your brain needs to hear how native or fluent speakers put sentences together. It needs to hear how words connect, the rhythm of the sentence, the natural speed, and the correct pronunciation. Think about a baby learning their first language. A baby doesn't learn grammar rules. A baby doesn't start by speaking. A baby listens, and listens for months before they say their first word. You need to do the same thing. You need to get daily listening in your life. It doesn't have to be a complicated scientific podcast. It can be a simple story, a YouTube video, or even just listening to this podcast again. When you listen daily, your brain slowly starts to learn the sentence patterns automatically. You start to hear that people usually say, "I'm going to the store," not "to the store, I am going." When you hear a phrase like, "I should have gone," many times you stop thinking about should, have, and gone as separate words, and your brain starts to store it as one smooth unit. This means when it's time for you to speak, you don't have to stop and build the sentence from scratch using grammar rules. Your brain can just reach into its memory bank of natural patterns and pull out the right phrase. So, make a commitment. Listen to English every single day. And how do we make sure that listening input really sticks in your brain? That brings us to the power of repetition. You need to hear, read, and say the same things repeatedly. This is how your brain forms strong, automatic memory connections. We aren't trying to just remember something for a test tomorrow. We are trying to build automaticity. That means you can use the sentence without having to think about it, just like how you don't have to think about where to place your feet when you walk. Think about a song you know really well. Why do you know it so well? Because you heard it over and over again on the radio, you sang it in the car, you looked up the lyrics. You didn't just listen to it one time. Your brain needed that repetition to make the connection strong. It's the same with language. When you listen to a short piece of English, say a 10-minute clip, and then you listen to it again the next day, and then again on the third day, those words and sentence structures stop being new information and start becoming part of your permanent language library. The sentences become easier and easier to use. Let me give you a concrete example. Maybe you hear the phrase, "I'm looking forward to it." The first time you hear it, it's just sounds. The second time, you think, okay, that means I'm excited for something in the future. The fifth time, you might notice that the native speaker often says it as, "I'm looking forward to it," not with a clear G at the end of looking. The 10th time, your mouth is almost ready to say it without you having to think. That repetition is what builds the strong, automatic connections we need for conversation. So, when you find a good piece of listening material, don't just consume it and move on. Go back to it, listen again, maybe read the transcript, and listen one more time. Once you've done all that listening and repeating, you need to transition to producing the language yourself. And the best technique for that, especially for improving your pronunciation and your speaking flow, is called the shadowing technique. I love shadowing because it bridges the gap between listening and speaking in a very powerful way. What is shadowing? Shadowing means speaking together with the audio after you have listened to it several times. You are like an echo, trying to match the speaker's voice as closely as possible, almost at the same time as they are speaking. This is not the same as just repeating a sentence after they finish. You are trying to speak with them a tiny bit behind them. Why is this so powerful? Well, it improves a few key areas all at once. First, it directly improves your pronunciation because you're forcing your mouth to make the same sounds the native speaker is making. Second, it helps with rhythm and stress. You learn which words in a sentence are naturally louder or longer, and which are shorter and less important. This is crucial for sounding natural. Third, it helps with speed. You're training your mouth and brain to keep up with the normal conversation speed. And finally, it builds muscle memory in your mouth. Yes, your mouth is a muscle, and it needs practice to form English sounds quickly and smoothly. Here's how you can practice shadowing. Pick a short segment, maybe 30 seconds to a minute of English audio that you have listened to and understood. Step 1. Listen to it 5 to 10 times just to understand. Step 2. Listen to it 5 times while reading the transcript if you have one. Step 3. Now listen again and start speaking along with the speaker, trying to match their sound, speed, and rhythm. Don't worry about understanding the meaning right now. Your focus is on the sound and the physical feeling of speaking. It will feel awkward and maybe a little funny at first, like you are singing a karaoke song that is too fast. But keep going. Doing this for just 5 minutes a day can transform your pronunciation and flow. I've given you a lot of things to think about: the need to view conversation as a skill, starting small, the power of listening, repetition, and the shadowing technique. But none of this matters if you don't stick with it. The real secret to improvement is not the number of hours you practice on one day. It is consistency is key. The people who succeed in English are not the ones who study for 6 hours every Saturday. They are the ones who make English a part of their daily life with small, regular practice. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth for 30 minutes once a week and expect good results, right? You brush for 2 minutes, twice a day, every day. That small, consistent action leads to long-term health. English is the same. 20 minutes of focused practice every day is vastly better than 3 hours of unfocused practice once a week. Your brain processes and consolidates information best when it gets it in regular, smaller doses. When you practice daily, you keep the English language warm in your brain. You don't spend the first 15 minutes of every session just trying to remember what you learned last week. So, how can you make it consistent? Find a time in your day that you can dedicate. Maybe it's during your commute, maybe it's right after dinner, or maybe it's 15 minutes before you go to sleep. Put it on your calendar, set a reminder on your phone, and make it non-negotiable. Don't worry about being perfect. If you miss a day, it's okay. The most important thing is that you start again the next day. The consistency is the habit, and the habit is what leads to fluency. Now, you might be telling me, Mary, this all sounds great, but I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't know any native speakers. How can I practice conversation? And this is another myth I want to break right now. You don't have to wait for a native speaker to practice conversation. You can start practicing alone today. The most available, most patient, and most forgiving conversation partner you will ever have is you. This is called self-talk, and it is one of the most effective, yet underutilized, techniques for building speaking confidence. I want you to start talking to yourself out loud in English every day. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but it works, and here's why. When you talk to yourself, you are forcing your brain to switch from thinking about English to thinking in English. You are practicing the entire communication process, forming an idea, choosing the words, building the sentence, and physically speaking it with your mouth. This helps you to think and speak more comfortably in English. There are so many ways to do this. You can narrate your life. For example, as you are getting ready in the morning, say out loud, "First, I need to make a cup of coffee. I am putting the water in the kettle. Now, I am pouring the milk into the mug." You can have a mini debate with yourself. Should I buy a new jacket? Yes, because my old one is too small. No, because I need to save money. Or, simply summarize something you just listened to. The podcast today talked about repetition. The host said that I should listen to the same thing 3 times. The topic doesn't matter. The quality doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you are producing English sound with your mouth and getting comfortable with the feeling of speaking. Start with just 5 minutes a day. Do it in the shower, do it while you're cleaning, do it while you're walking the dog. It's your private, safe space to practice without any fear of making mistakes. So, let's put all of this together into a simple plan you can start today. This is a plan that is focused, consistent, and requires minimal time, but maximum repetition and output. I recommend you create a small, powerful daily routine. 1. Listen daily, 10 to 15 minutes. Find a slow, clear English resource like a slow-paced podcast or an English learner's video. Listen to it for about 10 to 15 minutes. Focus on understanding the general idea. 2. The 3-time rule. Don't move on to a new episode tomorrow. Listen to the same 10 to 15-minute episode 3 times a week. For example, listen on Monday, listen again on Wednesday, and again on Friday. This repetition is what builds those automatic sentence patterns. 3. Shadow a part of it. After you've listened to the material a few times, choose a short, 30-second to 1-minute clip from that episode. Use the shadowing technique and practice speaking along with the audio. Do this for 5 minutes. Remember, focus on the rhythm and the sound, not the meaning. 4. Speak out loud every day, 5 minutes to your self-talk every day. Narrate your actions, summarize your thoughts, or just talk about your day. Do this for at least 5 minutes. This is your most important speaking practice. If you follow this simple plan, listen to the same thing 3 times a week, try shadowing a small part, and speak out loud to yourself every day, you will be consistently building all the necessary components of conversation, your input, your listening skills, your pronunciation, and your comfort level with speaking. So, there you have it. Conversation is not a mystery. It is a skill built through consistent, focused practice, even when you're practicing alone. Remember to start small, listen a lot, repeat often, and make English a daily, non-negotiable part of your life. You have the ability to become a fluent, confident speaker. All you have to do is start today. I'm Mary, and this has been English Talking Today. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. Keep practicing.